Hello, welcome back. Here we are now with, what's this? World War I Wednesday part 20, or number 20. And this is part 5. And initially, at least for the first part of this video, we're going to be looking at this Sopwith Camel. This is the 1/16 scale Hasegawa kit number MU01, and it's a little beauty. As you can see, it's built up with all the framework and everything exposed and all the rigging, and apparently if you get the control lines all right, then everything will work. So when I left you last time, I got all the woodwork done on the main fuselage sides, if you like, and on the supports and everything there. I've since gone round and painted in all the brackets and everything. You can see here all painted in black. And you can also see here we've done this lovely semi-gloss green colour as called out in the instructions. It's a Mr. Hobby, I think it's 79 or 279 or something. So there we go, so that's that done, and you can see all the brackets. I've then gone round with a 0.6 drill and drilled out all the little holes where the rigging has to go. So that's good. You notice I haven't done this rear part here, which again is black. Because obviously it's in two halves, it's got to be glued together, so we're going to get that glued together, clean up the seam, and then paint it black then. What I've discovered is this game, where is it? Is that it there? There we go. Game Color 72051. It's a Viejo, but it's called Game Color, and yeah, as you can see, it leaves a nice sort of semi-gloss finish. It's lovely for this, and because it's like a water-based paint, it doesn't just dry out straight away like most gloss paints would. It's very, very nice. It's very unusual you hear me praise a Viejo product, but in this case I will. So if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe, please. And if you like what you see at the end of this video, give us a thumbs up. And if you don't, give us a thumbs down. So in case this is the first time you're here, what we've basically done, I'll go around the clock sort of thing, backwards. This is the steel support for the firewall. Okay, and then this is the frame that the cockpit seat's going to sit on. This is the fuel tank held in with leather straps, and we've got some pilot's controls down there, you can see. I am just going to tell you one thing. You may notice I'm not lifting stuff very close to the camera. I had a bit of an accident on Thursday night. Right now here it's Saturday morning, Saturday the 21st, yeah, 21st of September 2024. Thursday night I went round a corner on my push bike, and I must have had a very fast puncture, or the inner tube ruptured or something. The tyre came off, the steel wheel, well, not the aluminium wheel slid. I tried to correct and went straight into a curb and went ass over tit and landed on my shoulder. So I've really, really hurt my shoulder. I have very little control of my arm above the elbow on my right arm, so hence I can't sort of lift. I could do this, I could use my other hand to lift stuff up, but I cannot lift from the shoulder. I can only lift from the elbow. I've been to the doctors, they said everything seems all right. If it's still hurting in a week, come back. So there we go. Yes, my doctors is that good. I can get in that quick. They are absolutely amazing. I'm not going to tell you where they are because you all want to go there. So basically, we got the cockpit floor done with the control column, and you can see all the control lines here all labelled up, and they're all in our bag. Okay, for safekeeping. Here we've got a few detail parts which I've done offline. So we've got a little canister there which is brass. We've got, I'm assuming that's a fuel, so the pilot can see the fuel level. I'm assuming that's a glass tube there, and then we've got the step here which is going to go into the side for the pilot to get in. Here we have rudder controls. So we have the rudder pedals there with the straps over the top, and we have the control lines coming off of those that are going to go back to the rudder and the tail skid. And then here we have the air intake, which is done in Alclad, over gloss black. And a tiny little bracket going on the back there. It's got that one done. And then here we have the main axle for the wheels, and then we've got cross members and everything, which are all done in wood, and we got the tail skid there again with the black picked out. So I've done a hell of a lot of work off camera, as you can see. If you saw my part, was it part 4? Is this part 4 or part 5? I can't remember. So anyway, I think this is part 5, isn't it? I think part 4 was the last one. So what I've got to do now is go on and get this together. So I've got my takeaway container here, and I'm going to put all these parts. You can see I've got them all bagged up for safekeeping. I'm going to put them all back in here so they don't get damaged or get covered in dust or anything. I'm just going to keep out what we need. Now, as you can see from the instructions, I can go straight to the page. When we bring the fuselage together, we have to sandwich the tail skid in. Now, the tail skid is made of G14, G13 and J9, the tail skid support, which is actually here. Okay, so you can see that's 3 parts there all glued together and painted. I haven't fitted them to the tail skid because I can pop the tail skid in afterwards. So it's going to make assembly a lot easier. So we've got to sandwich that in there, in here, in there. Okay, without getting any glue on it, so that's going to be fun. And then basically what I'm going to do is clamp it together. And what I'm doing, I'm going to get the fuselage halves together, and then basically work from the back forward and feed all the cross members in, rather than try and get all the cross members all perpendicular and everything. So there we go. These pieces here are going to get glued in. I might put them in first. We shall see. It might be a lot easier to put them in now. So that's G12, which is here going in the side, and Q3, which is that fuel level thing. I might put them in now. It might be a lot easier to put them in now. Now the actual seating mount and the actual cockpit floor, I'll put them in afterwards as well, once we've got some cross members in. And what I'll probably do is put these cross members in and just glue them to one side so I can keep pulling it open. And then when we've got it all done, all finally together, we can just go around, put a drop of cement on each one, and then we'll have to go around and do some touch-ups. So in the instructions, in the painting guide, and as you can see they've done on here, they tell you to paint these little bits on here in aluminium. But the books I've got, every one I've seen, they're black. So I don't know where Hasegawa have got their colour call-outs from, but they do seem to be all over the place. It's like that big air intake here, that one there. They tell you to paint that black. Okay, every picture I've got is aluminium. So, you know, I don't know where they're getting the colour call-outs from. So, and that's on period pictures as well as modern restorations. So there we go. Right, so we've got to look at getting this together. So it's all cleaned up. There's no paint or anything on there. I'm just going to give this one, because you can see I'm not using my right arm for anything hardly. It's bloody useless. Whether it's going to hinder my video making or not, I don't know. We shall see. Otherwise it bloody hurts. Okay, so there's our plastic there. Got to be careful here because we've got only one assembly pin. I want to get a really good joint, so I'm sanding away the tan colour that I put underneath. You can see the brown plastic coming through. So I'll get rid of that. I'm going to have to scrape in here. Let's use the left hand to pick up my knife. And I think what I'm going to do is get this done, and then we're going to move on to either the bus or the armoured car. I haven't decided yet. I think the votes are more towards the armoured car, but my good friend Luke over at Black Rifle Model Works has just bought that kit, and I think he's planning a build, so I don't want to go building the same kit as him, because that's just not the done thing among friends. There we go. Building the same kit is fine, but building the same kit in the same time frame is a no-no. Right, so that's going to go in there like that. As you can see, you've got a little pocket with the little hole in the top, so you've got that pip on the top of there. It doesn't matter which way around it goes because it's going to swivel anyway. So that's going to go in there like that, and then this is going to go on top like that. And as you can see, that's going to swivel in there. Now what I'm going to do is grab one of my bulldog clamps here and clamp this together and show you one of the big issues. What we've got to be very careful of here is keeping everything square. That's why I've got this bulkhead out, because we've got these 4 great big holes on here and we've got 4 great big pins. So if I put this together on here, we can see that this is going to go whoops, that's going to go into there. Come on. Right, one in there, one in there. They do fit very nicely as well. Mind you, everything's covered in paint, so that's probably why it fits nicely. And that one's going to go in there, and that one's going to go in there. And I've pulled the other bloody side out now. Prawn. Oh, come on. Right. And then I'm going to grab an old piece of masking tape. What I'll do is wrap that around there. Doesn't need to be held in solidly or anything, it just needs to be, make sure it doesn't just fall off every time you look at it. There we go. And it's Gloucester Model Show tomorrow, so if any of you are watching this now or at the Gloucester Model Show, we possibly said hello. So you're watching this in the future. So as you can see, we can easily pull it all apart. Even with that held together, we can easily pull it apart and get the cross members and stuff in. So it is now time to get this glued together. So we know that we're square. Just to double check, what we can do is put this on a box or something, so that the top is relatively flat, and then we can just put a square against it, something like that. I mean, we could get one of our 321 blocks and put that up against it, and we can see that we're not very square there, but that's okay because there's so much flex in everything. But I think this is as good as we're going to get. You know, it's only 3 legs, that's the trouble. If we stick it on 4 legs, does it rock? No, it's good. So I think we'll go from there and just hope for the best, really. It's a shame we don't have better location on the back, because that would stop us sort of doing this and having the fuselage sides out of line. So anyway, that's all cleaned up. So I'm going to get some Tamiya extra thin into here. Just let that capillary into that joint for a second. Okay, I'm going to hold this together. In fact, I'm going to put my clamp back on. There we go. I'm going to get some extra thin into there. Now, luckily, I've got a nice lot of paint on that black part. So if it does get glued up, all we'll do is just keep moving it until the glue dries off, and then we'll be good to go. Just want to make sure that's lined up. That bottom can do this. I'm just making sure it's lined up. And what I'm going to do is put some cement down in here. I'm getting plenty in there because I want a really strong joint in there, because it's going to get pulled around. There we go. Right, we do have some cement on there, I can feel it. That's okay. We just keep moving it. When it dries, it will just break away. So let that go off, and then I'll come back when it's all dry. And guys, as you can see here, I have completely and utterly messed up. I put way too much cement in there. As you probably saw, you were probably all shouting at the camera, at the screen, and it's basically glued itself in there, and I've been manipulating it and twisting it, and it's just broken off. No issue at all. What I'm going to do, you may want to do this on yours anyway, because it is like a prick in a top hat in there. I'm going to let this dry off solid, and then I'm going to drill in there, and I'm going to put a pin in or something, a little screw, maybe a little counter bore in there, and I'm going to screw this in. It's only ever going to move that much, so what we may actually do is glue the screw into here, and then have the screw, you know, actually put a thread in there, screw it in, and just set it so it's about the right height, because all this is ever going to do is that. So it doesn't really matter, you know, it's not like it's going to be turning like a wheel. So we will get there, and I will show you how I do it when we get there. But yeah, I messed up, totally my fault, nothing wrong with the kit. I put way too much cement in there. What I should have done was put a bit of cement around there first, and then put the parts together, let that clamp, let it dry, let it seal it off, and then I could have put my extra thin around there, and then the glue wouldn't have gone in around that pin. But basically, yeah, I cocked up. So what I may as well do now is grab myself some black super glue. You don't have to use the black, I just like to. And what I'm going to do is put a drop of super glue in there on my Pringles lid, which has been cleaned off. And then we'll put some in there and let that capillary down into that joint. And we'll do that at the front there as well. So we'll have a nice solid block with which to put something in. As I say, it's sometimes good when I mess up like this, because you may make the same mistake. I mean, it's not unheard of. Yeah, I was thinking more about what I was saying to the camera than what I was doing. This is something that happens a lot when you do videos, as you will know if you're a YouTuber. So we'll leave that to dry. Get a peg on there. If it'll stay on there, I'm not sure they will. There we go. Oh, I keep hitting the camera, I'm sorry. I keep driving my head into the camera. So there we are. I'll leave that to dry, and then I think we're going to do something else. Right, so we've done the repair. As you can see, that hole there where the arm was, I filled it with black super glue, let it all dry, sanded it back nice and flush, drilled a hole in the centre. That hole there is drilled out to 1mm. Here I've got an M1.2, I think it is, screw, and it is, let me grab my calipers, just so you know what I've used. It's M1.2, and it's, what is it, 6.5mm long. The head diameter is about 1.8. Okay, so what I've done here, I've drilled into this arm. Okay, this is the little lower piece that broke off. I've drilled a 1.2mm hole, and then I've counterbored it on this side 1.8mm. Alright, and now this screw, you can pick this screw up, and that will actually slot into there like so. Okay, and then it sits. The reason I've counterbored it is so that the screw head doesn't get in the way of the arm or the tail skid. And then I've drilled this 1mm. Alright, and it's still a bit soft and gooey, because there's a lot of cement in there, because some idiot put too much cement in there. So this screw is going to go in like this. Remember to drill the hole on an angle. Now I've done this once and it went easy. Now the camera's on, it's going to mess me about for time immemorial. Don't you just know it? There we go, and that will screw in there. Okay, you can see it goes at an angle. It's not parallel to the. It's not sort of square to the bottom of the fuselage. It's bring that up out of there, out of the way. Oh, come on. This annoys me so much, guys. I do this and things just don't go wrong when the camera's off. I ought to stop making videos, didn't I? So make sure it's the right way round. Okay, you got the chamfered side. This side here is square, and this side here is chamfered. The chamfered side goes forward. So you could just drive that in there. Go down till it stops. It's like a part work, this, isn't it? That's done that solid. Just back off a touch. Back off a touch more. There we go. Remember, the least friction you can get away with, the better. Because obviously we want these control columns to work and everything. Maybe tighten it up a touch. There we go, that's lovely. So we've got no rock in it, no play. It's better than it was originally. And it's free to move. That's all we need to move it, is that much. So I'm going to have to do some touch up on the woodwork. I want to do some touch up on this joint here on the woodwork as well. As you can see, I've got super glue down in there, which is going to have to be sanded out. And we'll use our little floory sponge for that one. So we'll just use that one down in there. Get down in there, get that super glue out. And there we are. So we're ready now to go in with the black. We'll get this masked, we'll get the wood done, get it masked up, get it painted black. And when I'm going to do that, I do not know. And there we go. As you can see, all masked off, painted black. I masked off the edges here with tape, and that little bit, the little insert you can see in there with the wood grain still there, I masked that off with the brilliant VMS masking fluid, which is awesome stuff. So that's all good. I also cut that little lump off the back there before I did the wood graining. There's a little lump on there and it says if you want the elevator to move, then cut it off. So now I've got this tail skid. Now the way this is supposed to be built is you sort of sandwich these parts here. You sandwich those around that. What I've done is decided to just clip it in. So hopefully, get the way around, hopefully I can just clip that into there. There we go. And that will stay. Now if it does pop out because I've damaged the pins or whatever, I'll just drill through and put a piece of brass in there. But as you can see, we've got our pivoting tail skid now all moving lovely with that replacement screw where I messed up. So we've also got to put some rubber in here as a shock absorber for that. So we'll get that done. But that's going to be in the next video now, because now we're going to have a look at doing something else. Let's see what we're going to do. Okay, so as promised, we're going to have something different. What I intend to do, you let me know what you think in the comments and I'll go with the majority. But the majority chose this. I gave you the option of this or the bus. I haven't got the bus out of the stash because it's deep down. And yeah, so I got this one out. So I did say I wasn't going to do this because my friend Luke, I've got reflections off that light. I did say I wasn't going to do this because my friend Luke has just bought exactly the same kit. But I've got in touch with him and basically he's not planning a video build of this anytime soon. So we won't be overlapping. So that's cool. It's not good when you do the same build as someone else, especially when it's a friend of yours, because you will kind of take viewers from each other sort of thing, whereas it's better to keep it all different. That's why you're not seeing me do the Airfix lifeboat, because every man and his dog has done one. I'm going to give it a few weeks and then I'll do it. So I've made a couple of videos, they're ready to go out, but I haven't launched them because every man and his dog has done the Airfix lifeboat. So anyway, there we go. Right, so here we have the interior kit. It's the Mini Art 39005 and it's the Austin Armoured Car 3rd Series, and I'm going for it in Ukrainian markings, not this one. There's another one in the box and I'll show you that now. So there we go. Right, so in the box, I've already done a review of this. If you look back on my channel, you will see that I've done a review of this kit a while back. That's why it's all open. And it's always worth, with these kits, especially stuff like Mini Art, with all these tiny little parts, it's always worth, I don't know why I've got that bag in there, but it's always worth putting the parts in a bag, okay? And if you can, lock them up, because the problem is, this is, and it's great for the environment, they're using one bag and it's all tightly bound up. But the problem is, if you just put the sprues back in loosely, you can see you've got all these bits and pieces sticking out. What happens is they slide together and things get broken, especially tiny little bits like this. So there we are. So you want to be careful with that. So I've got all these parts in bags, as you can see, all bagged up nicely. The clear parts there. So what we're going to do, we're doing the chassis first. So I'm going to get the sprue with the chassis on. Where is le chassis? It must be here somewhere. There it is. It's on that sprue there. So I'm going to put the box over here. We'll keep that bag there and we'll keep that sprue there. Hopefully well, this is one of those kits like an Airfix where all the parts will be on one sprue. So looking in the instructions, we have all our different colour callouts here. So here's the one that's on the box front. And I've decided to go for this one. I'm obviously going to do it in Ukrainian, but I like this one because it's got the blue door on the front. And it's got this Ukrainian writing, which is much sort of more warlike than this big decorated one. Just, it's just my opinion. So I'm going for that one. This one has... It's weird, it looks like they have smooth tyres on one axle. Don't really know what's going on there. It may just be a printing error because they've got a smooth tyre there. That one's got treaded tyres. There's also some tyres in here which have like a block tread. Yeah, you can see there's a different wheel there. So we've got a wheel with a different sort of square block tread tyre on it. And then we have the other options here in the back. This is a full interior kit, so it's going to be quite a lengthy project. You can see this one here has got the block tread, or the solid tyre, should I say, not block tread. And that one there's got normal tyres. For some reason, I think it must be a misprint, but they're showing us here, you can see this. Oh no, it's because of the light. This is what happens. We've got this slight sheen on the paper. I turn the light off so that you don't get a reflection, but then I get a reflection. This always happens with books and everything. It's a nightmare. So I can't always see clearly. So here we have all our sprue callouts. As I say, I've already done a review. But typical mini art, we've got some cautions about, not using glue near flames and that, and don't feed it to your dog, stuff like that, if I had a dog. So there we are. So decal sheet there. So we've got more sprue callouts here. One thing with mini art, they don't tend to show you which parts aren't used. And I can tell you now from experience, if you get something like a T54 or T55 interior kit from mini art, probably half of the parts in that kit you won't use. Have a look at the instructions for a T54 or a T55 on Scalemates or something, and you'll see some of them have got like 3 turrets and 3 gun barrels because they just intermix all the sprues. So I know we're going to end up with some spare wheels and tyres on this one, so that's cool. So we're starting off with the chassis, and it's looking cool because it looks like everything except that part there and that part there is B. So that's good. So I'm not sure which sprue DA is. DA is a long slender one, which is that one there. So we've got that one there as well. So we'll get those parts off of there. So we've got DA2. There's DA2. And this is the thing with mini art, okay? They're very, very high part count kits. I was joking yesterday with the guy at the Gloucester show, and we were saying, the 97 parts to make a distributor cap. They're absolutely unbelievable, but the detail in them is just stunning. DA35 is there, which is our steering box. So I'm not sure I want to fit that yet, although it does have a square lug. I don't want to fit that yet because I want to fit it at the same time as I fit the instrument panel, because that has got to go through. Yeah, that is going to have to go through that firewall there. Oh, there's a slot over the top of it, but it'll get broken off easy anyway. I think I'll fit it at the same time as the engine, so we won't bother putting the steering column in here. Oh God, where are we? Come on. Okay, so I won't bother with that one. So that can go back in the box, and then all the rest of this is B. So I'll get all this off the sprues, get it cleaned up. I've got a hole to drill in there, just in the one side, I'm guessing. B27, B32. So B27, B32. It's already got the hole there. Maybe we've got to open it up. It's telling us to 1.2. Maybe we've got to open it up to 1.2. So yeah, you can see it's already got the hole there in those parts. So I'm going to get these instructions out of the way, get some parts off, get them cleaned up, and we'll do some assembly. Okay, so that's all those cleaned up. Took quite a while, lots of little sprue gates on there. And obviously with these little spindly rods, it takes a while to clean them up. And I've also got all the seams cleaned up as well. The first thing I'm going to do, we've got these 2 parts here. They're going to go together. It tells you here to drill that hole 1.2. I've actually drilled that hole about 0.7 because later on there is a rod that's going to go through there, and they give you the choice of either using the plastic parts or you can use, sorry, here, you have a choice of using the plastic parts. That's going through there, look, you see. They give you the choice of using plastic parts or a 0.3 rod. So I'm just using a 0.7 drill, give me some clearance. And as you can see, even with the 0.7, it's quite close to the top edge there. So I've brought the camera a little bit closer as well because this is all quite fine. So the first thing I want to do is glue these together, because on the top here you can see we have a seam, okay, with some sprue gates on it. So I'm going to get these cemented together first. I'm going to use some extra thin quick setting just for speed and nothing else. Okay, mini art plastic is one of the best, along with my favourite of all is border model, without a doubt, and I love ICM plastic as well. I also love mini art. The new Airfix plastic is quite nice. There we go. So that's that. So we'll just let that dry. So I'm not putting loads on, I just haven't got much on the brush because the bottle's a bit low. So there we go. We'll let that dry, sand that out, and then I'll be back. Alright, so there's that cross member. Seam all done, all sanded back. I'm sure none of it's going to be visible on the finished model, so we don't need to worry about it too much. So I'm going to get this cross member in. This one's going kind of in the middle, and we can see here that we've got a couple of uprights there, and it's going to sit in between them. But make sure we get it the right way around. That is actually the wrong way around. This face with the full radius on it needs to face rearwards. So that's going to go in that way like that. Okay. So I do love building these multiple part chassis. There's nothing breaks my heart more than getting like a truck kit or something like that. You open the box and the chassis is in one piece. No. I mean, it makes it a lot easier to build, but I do enjoy building chassis or frames or whatever you want to call them from wherever you are in the world. Okay, so that's gone in there. I'm just going to get my square and check for squareness. There we go, nice and square as you can see. Another little drop of cement just to get in there and let it harden. Give it another little push actually. And then check the square again. Notice I've started in the middle because with the chassis, I'm not sure the plural of, I think plural of chassis is chassis, isn't it? If you start back here and you do one at a time, then you can only come in from one side, and quite often chassis don't have, I mean this one is just straight, so this one's fine, but quite often they'll have a kick in and out, they'll have bits sticking out. So I start in the middle, get that square, and that gives you a great starting point. So I'm going to let that dry, let that go sort of stiffish before we do anything else. And we've also got this cross member here that goes in, but I think I'll put that in once the chassis is built. This cross member here can go in, so we'll put that one in now. That's going to go like that. We've got a cut out in this side on the right, so that's going to go into there, and that one is basically going to butt up to that one there. So what I'm going to do is get this into position, hold it in place, and put a drop of cement in there. Notice my finger's behind. If there was a hole in the chassis, my finger wouldn't be there because the glue would capillary under. Okay, so that one's gone in. So we can get that one squared up. There we go. And looking along the chassis, we can see when we look along that either that cross member is low down or this one is high. So we're going to pull this one down. Okay. Notice I'm using extra thin, not quick setting, because I want it to stay soft for a little while. Just square that one up again. There we go. Another quick view. Yeah, it needs to come down a touch more. Maybe this one needs to go up. We should be able to get a square on the side of the... Yeah. Okay, so that glue, as you can see, the glue is still soft. I can still move them around, and there's a good reason for that. It's because I want to. Now, sometimes you're really lucky, and you will find that you can fit a rule in between the chassis rails, and it looks like this is going to be one of those. So what we do now is glue this side, okay, onto here. So I'm going to put a drop on there, and I'm going to put a drop on there, and I'm going to glue this side to there. So I want the front one to go into there and the back one to go into there. Come and pinch it. Okay, and that wasn't supposed to happen. You know the rule, don't you guys? When the camera's on, it will all go wrong. There we go. That's why I messed up so much on that Sopwith Camel. To you, it was just now. To me, it was a couple of days ago. Right, now I can see that something's wrong here because I've got that one butted up against there. I've got that one butted up against there. And they're not parallel. So something is seriously wrong here. That needs to go back. There we go. I had it in the wrong position. So now we can take our square, and you can see here we have lumps and bumps all over the chassis, so it's quite difficult. You have to do it sort of by visual, by looking at the light. We can get this all squared up now like that, and we can get a rule in between. Okay, so with the rule in between and sitting inside the chassis rails, we now know that we've got our cross members parallel to each other. The chassis is straight, and because we can look at it like this, we can see that our cross members are square. If you know the end of your rule is square, check it on a square. I don't think this one is. I think this one is slightly out. Yes, it is. It's slightly out. But what you can do, it's probably good enough for plastic modelling. But you can use your under your rule like that and check for square like that using the end of the rule. Okay, so just put it up against the inside of the chassis rail. Hold it nice and flush. Have it on top of the cross member. And then you can look down and you can see how square that cross member is to the end of the rule. Alright, now what I'm going to do now is just come along with another drop of cement in there, because if you remember those joints were quite dry. And we want this to be absolutely solid. Just like so. And now this chassis on the top has these 4 lugs on it which are going to get in the way. So I'm going to grab my 1, 2, 3 block, and hopefully those lugs, no, they're not going to, are they? What if I go that way? Okay, so those lugs are sat in those holes. What I can do now is put that like that. Check it once again, just quickly, just for square. Yeah, that's good enough. Remember, after it's dry, you can still pull it about. So those lugs are sat down in those holes. Okay. So I can feel that like that. And then I can grab another 1, 2, 3 block or a metal weight or something. Put that on top of there like that. And just leave that to dry for at least an hour. Let it just go off, and that should be enough just to give us a start to make sure our chassis is going to stay square. Right, so we've been about an hour. What I've done, I've glued together these 2 rear parts here. So these, I've put the instructions away, sorry, here we go, Mr. Unplanned as usual. Right. Okay, so these two parts here, B75, B24, I've glued together. And then check them with the square to check they're square and everything, and everything's all good. Okay, and then what I did, I put them down on their flat side and put a weight on there and let them dry like that. So so that's good. So they're all nice and flat and square and everything. We've got these parts here ready to go in. This, I've moved along and looked at the engine block halves, because we've got the engine block halves here going onto like a shelf, which is the lower flange, and then we've got the sump. The sump and the is not glued on, as you can see, but I've got this done. What I'm finding with this model, the pins are all slightly too big for the holes they go in. You can see we've got like a pin here, okay, and they're like 0.6 and the holes are 0.5 sort of thing. So I'm just going with a 0.6 and just cleaning out the holes. Same on here. The holes were 1 mil and they were like 1.1. So I've just opened up the holes, then it will go in easier. And it was the same here. I've opened up those holes on the side of the chassis and here. So these holes here, where that piece is going in there, and here. So yeah, keep an eye on that. I mean, a bit of cement in there, but they'll just slide in. But if you want to be able to dry build it, so we can get this chassis off of here now. So we've got everything nice and square. I'm just going to check once again that we're square on our cross members and everything. So that's all looking pretty good. If we put the square across the back, it should be. It's difficult to see when it's all like that. You need to do it on the solid bit. It's recommended you do it on the solid bit. So we'll check it with. And the trouble is we've got these bits and pieces on the outside of the chassis here. So what I'm doing is just holding it so I can see daylight through, and I can see that it's square and everything's good. And if it's not, what we can do is just, you can literally just pull it while the glue's still not completely rock hard. You know, it's just been like an hour. So that's all good. Now this cross member piece here I want to fit in. This is B74. So we've got to make sure we get that the right way round. You can see that on a couple of the legs there is a little like a little ledge on there. It's the same on that. It's because that cross member is going above that one. So this is going to go in that way round. Sorry, the chassis is that way up. It's going to go in that way round. So that is going to slot in under there. Hang on, have I got this right? Yes, I have. So that's going to slot in under there. And that side's going to slot in under there. Alright, and then what we're going to do is push this into there, just give it a little twiddle, and it will go in. There we go. I'm going to grab my tweezers and just make sure that everything's sat in a nice location. Yep, so we can get our Tamiya extra thin. I'll put it over here because I can't reach over with my shoulder like a bloody old, like a very old man instead of just an old man. Right. If you can see him, I've got a spider over here on the bench. he's been around here all day. He must like the smell of the glue or something. But, he's having a little wander around. He's gone again. You might see him come on here in a minute. Might be a reincarnation of Jess. She always loved getting up on the bench. Yeah, she was a little darling, that girl. Anyway. Right, so that's that one in. Okay, so we'll just drop this onto here. Make sure we don't have any lumps sticking up. And I'm just going to put the weight on again just to make sure that stays flat. Now we've got this little round piece to go in here. And if you notice, one end's got a square on it and one end's got a circle. And when you look at the part, you can see One end's got a circle, one end's got a square, so make sure we get it the right way up. So the chassis is that way up, and we got the circle over to the right, and we have the little square lump on the left. So that's going to go in like that. And then that's going to go in there just by flexing the rod. It will just pop into place. There we go. Went too far. There we go. So that's gone in there. Now I'm not sure. I'm guessing they've just got to stay straight down, have they? I'm not sure what's going to be connected to them going forward. Is it those little tiny rods? You can see there it is there. This is what you've got to be careful of with these kits because they're so well detailed. You can see we've got rods here that are going to attach to there. So really the position of that is going to be determined by the rods. So I think I'm going to see if I can leave it unglued and then I can move it to suit the position of those rods. If it keeps falling out, we'll have to glue it, but it probably will stay there because it's got quite a lot of friction holding it in. So that's that one. Okay, that's the right way up, yep. And then we've got this piece in the back. So we've got the rear cross member there, we've got a little divot on the bottom of there. So it's going that way round. So we're going to pull the chassis open, slot that in. So we've got a couple of lugs for it to fit onto at the forward end. That bracket's got to go up on that step. And then that chassis rail has got to go in at the back. So what I'm going to do here, there we go, that's gone together nicely. Okay, what I'm going to do here is put a drop of cement on this one. Okay, so that's got to be pushed up into the chassis. The lug is at the top end. That's where the angle is, so it's got to go up to the top. I'm going to put a drop of cement on here. Like so. And then I'm going to grab my rule and check our chassis is still straight. And as you can see, it is. Okay, so now we can drop a cement in there, drop a cement in there. Again, there's this little bracket here as well, we could put some in there. There we are. Okay, so that can all stay together like that. As I say, that cross member there has got to be pushed up to the top of the chassis. And this one's just sitting in the wedge. The chassis has got like a wedge shape in it, so everything gets wedged in place. So there we are, there's that one. Doopy doopy doo. That's that one in place. Now, just going to quickly grab my square and just check we've got those two lumps on the back. That's okay. You can see that it's nice and square with the chassis, so that's all good. That back end staying together nicely. I just want to put something on there just to hold it. I'm not sure what I can get on there. I'm just thinking I could use one of these, but I think it might be a little bit over the top. Just put a slight amount of pressure. It's just springing apart, just. So I just want to make sure it doesn't come apart and pull the glue joint apart. And I'm going to make sure that I put it in there level because we're putting a twist into the chassis. Look. See that? We're twisting the chassis, so take that off, get it back on here, make sure there's no lugs. There we go, you can feel it go around the circles. What we can do is get the rule on there, just like so, You can see then if it's twisting, and you can see that it is twisted. There we go. So I'm not going to clamp that because it twists the chassis. The main thing, you've got to keep the chassis straight, parallel. So you want it straight, not curved. You want it parallel, not like that. And you want to make sure that it's not twisted. So there we go. What we might be able to do is use 2 of these blocks. Nope, it's not wide enough. We're going to put one over the edge. But we've got these lugs on here that they're causing the problem. And we can put a weight on there if we want to. Right, the other good thing about that, not having that glue, we can fold those in so they don't get in the way and they don't get broken off. Right, so moving to the front of the chassis, we've got this cross member here, which is going to go, looks like that's going to, the front of the engine's going to sit by the look of things. So that's going to go in that way, and it's going to sit in those little recesses there. So that's going to sit in there like that, and in there like that. That's almost like a snap fit model there. That's just clipped in beautifully. And then we've got this little piece here, which is extremely fragile. And it's looking like, yes, it is handed. I'm not sure if it's handed or not. No, it's not. Okay, so that's going to sit in between those front chassis rails. Now, as I said at the beginning of this video, mini arc kits can be very, very fussy and very, very flimsy. And as you can see, that is just asking to get broken off. So I'm thinking I won't fit it yet. I'm looking here. Okay, so I'm going to put some cement in there. I'm going to put some cement in there, and that means that cross member is in position. So that's cool. And what we can do is just use our rule and just hold it against, or visually hold it against that rail there, and check that it's parallel. Because if that front chassis rail, say, use your imagination here guys, say that front chassis rail was pointing over there, if I put a rule parallel to it, the rule will be like, and you can see that then what we've got is a chassis that goes like that, and then the front. And that's what you've got to be careful of. That's when you start to get issues with fitting bodywork and stuff like that. It's not so important if you're doing a tractor trailer unit, because the cab is only sort of that much of the chassis. But when something like this, it going all the way back, you want to try and get it perfect if you can, as perfect as you can. Right, and I'm going to put that on there. Now we've only got, on here, we've only got one raised bit. There's just tiny little bolts there. So that can just sit like that. I can put weight on there. Look at that, it's about 0.5 millimetre too long. It's sitting on the edge of that cross member. There we go, I've forced it in, it's pushing that cross member on an angle now. So I'll have to find a smaller block. There we go. There's a smaller block that can sit in there like that. Okay, so we've got, the trouble is, you see, we've got these bloody lugs on here and they're causing an issue. Maybe it'd be better if I had let them be the level, and the trouble is I can't put that down flat. It's going to have to be done by eye, I'm afraid. But there we go. What I'm going to do is let that dry off a bit and then manipulate it after that. Because I manipulate it now, it just goes straight back to how it wants to be. But it's looking pretty good. You can see along there, it's looking pretty straight and everything. I think it might have a very slight twist in it, just a very slight, but very slight twist don't matter, because if you've got a decent amount of weight in the model, which it has, it's got loads of interior and stuff, then it will push itself down on the wheels anyway. You've got a fairly lot of twist in the chassis. Okay, so there we go. Right, I think we're going to call that a day, because we must be up on about the hour now, getting that way, 50 minutes or something. I want to let that engine dry really solid before I do anything more to that, because it's only held together with like a small front face in the top. And then when it goes in here, you've got these gaps in the side. So in the meantime, what I'll do off camera, I'll get the the top side sorted, get the front sorted, filled, seamed, whatever, with super glue. This piece here, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it. I really don't want to put it on the chassis now, because the trouble is it's just so flimsy. I just know it's going to get broken off even if you put the chassis down. You know, and the front end touches the bench first, it's just going to snap that off, isn't it? Look at it, how flimsy that is. Crazy. So there we are. Right, I will see you all next week. Thank you for watching. Maybe we'll go the other way around next week. Maybe we'll start off with this one and then go back to the Sopwith. Maybe we'll just stay with this one. Maybe we'll just do the Sopwith. We shall see. But anyway, I'm sure you'll tell me in the comments what you want to see. But by the time I read the comments, I may have already made the next parts. That's the trouble there. Right, I will see you all soon. Thank you for watching. Bye.